In May 2026, health officials across multiple countries scrambled to track down hundreds of passengers scattering from a single cruise ship. The patients on board developed severe gastrointestinal issues that rapidly degraded into acute respiratory distress and shock within a matter of days. The immediate toll confirmed 3 dead, with the remaining infected passengers hospitalized in completely different corners of the globe, including the extremely isolated island of St. Helena. Doctors quickly ruled out common respiratory illnesses. The pathogen responsible for this emergency is a highly lethal threat known as the Andes hantavirus. Hantaviruses typically stay confined to rural areas and specific animal hosts. We need to figure out exactly how a highly localized pathogen found its way onto a luxury cruise ship and triggered an international medical emergency. Under a microscope, the Andes hantavirus looks like this. In the Americas, this family of viruses aggressively attacks the lungs, causing a severe condition called hantavirus pulmonary syndrome, or HPS. This chart shows a baseline for viral mortality. Seasonal flu has a fatality rate around 0.1%, and COVID-19 sits between 1 and 2%. For individuals who contract hantavirus and develop HPS, that number scales massively. The mortality rate is 38%. More than 1 in 3 people who develop full-blown respiratory symptoms will die from it. Because we currently have no specific antiviral treatment, we have to look closely at whether a virus this deadly has the physical mechanics to spread worldwide. To trace the origin, investigators looked backward to April 1st, when the MV Hondius departed from Ushuaia, Argentina. They identified the likely index case, a Dutch citizen who spent the 4 months leading up to the cruise on a sprawling road trip through the remote, rugged areas of Chile, Uruguay, and Argentina. That rural environment points directly to the source. Hantaviruses are strictly zoonotic, meaning they are transmitted primarily by animals, specifically rodents. Humans normally get infected by inhaling toxic aerosols. When infected rodents leave droppings or urine, those particles dry out, mix with dust, and get kicked up into the air for people to breathe in. That biological rule entirely explains how a traveler hiking through Patagonia caught the virus. It fails completely to explain how he passed it to other passengers out on the open ocean, far away from any rodents. A strictly rodent-borne pathogen physically cannot jump from human to human down the enclosed hallways of a cruise ship. But the Andes strain is a severe biological anomaly. Out of all the known hantaviruses, it is the absolute only one that has broken the evolutionary barrier to allow human-to-human transmission. Even with that rare ability, the mechanics of the spread are heavily restricted. The virus requires intimate, sustained contact with an infected person's bodily fluids, or saliva, rather than casual airborne proximity. Tracing those exposures is incredibly difficult because the virus carries a massive incubation period. An infected person can take anywhere from 4 to 42 days to actually show symptoms. When you combine a month-long incubation window with the tight shared quarters and communal dining of a luxury cruise ship, you get the exact biological environment required for an anomalous human-to-human outbreak. Looking at a multinational outbreak of a lethal respiratory virus immediately draws comparisons to COVID-19, but their biology creates entirely different outcomes. First, the Andes virus is not airborne. You cannot catch it by walking past someone in a grocery store or sitting across a large room from them. Second, there is absolutely no asymptomatic spread. A person must be visibly sick and symptomatic in order to transmit the virus through close contact. Because it heavily relies on intimate fluid exchange and visible illness, the Andes virus lacks the stealth and reach needed to scale into a global pandemic. For people living or traveling in regions where the virus is endemic, the primary defense is rodent-proofing your environment. If you have to clean a potentially contaminated space, always wet the area with disinfectant first. Never dry sweep, which kicks toxic dust into the air. If you do experience potential exposure to rodents and suddenly develop a fever accompanied by severe muscle aches in your thighs and back, you need to seek medical care immediately. Ultimately, the MV Hondius incident is a massive success story for international health surveillance. As soon as the initial cluster of patients was identified, global authorities coordinated seamlessly to track the passengers, isolate the suspected cases, and alert the public. Zoonotic diseases with high mortality rates are extremely dangerous to the individuals who catch them. But thanks to the strict biological limits of the Andes virus and the rapid response of modern medical systems, the broader